What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Lineman Football, and today's video we have the full review on the Xenith XFlexion Apex shoulder pads. Okay, so first off, if you guys want to see more about the packaging and some of the paperwork and that kind of stuff that comes with it, don't forget to check out the unboxing video first. This is going to be more about all the different attributes of the shoulder pads, what I think, and that kind of thing. So the first thing we'll get into, obviously it is only available in the one color. I'm going to link it down below through Xenith's website. They do retail for $285, so they're the most expensive option as far as the Xenith adult shoulder pads go. And for good reason, because they're the largest version, obviously because they are made for linemen and that kind of thing. Okay, so first off, we're just going to go over a couple different features about the pads, some things that make them separate from other pads, and then we'll get into what I like, what I think they could have worked on, all that kind of deal. So the first thing you can obviously see here is most shoulder pads have a conventional string, strap, whatever on the front. These ones actually have this floating chest plate here, so if you look underneath it, there are some rubber strings and that kind of thing. But the good thing about this, it is made all at one tightness, but it can be separated because there are those bungees underneath. Also, with this floating chest plate, it also really helps absorb hits and that kind of thing. Basically, it's one piece of foam with the plastic over top of it, and of course, it does have the Xenith logo on there. Now, as far as the attachment of the shoulder pads go, you do have the conventional belt style here. I'll talk a little bit more of those in a bit. These little mounts in the front here are for your back plates. They have the same thing on the back as well. And the Xenith backplate that does go with these costs you $35. On their website, it said that you can also use almost any other backplate to attach these as well. Again, those just mount through these little screw holes on the back here. And they're adjustable kind of back and forth. That way, they're a little more universal. Same thing on the back here. It doesn't have, the conventional style to hold them together. It kind of has these pads that can rotate and move. Unlike other pads, like some of the Rydell Powers, on the front all across here, it does just have a foam style padding. Now there's the layer of foam on the top, but they also have another layer of foam on the inside, which you can hear all the pieces are actually velcroed in. Now, one thing I can't show you guys with these pads because they're put in there, but I'll put the picture on screen of what it looks like on the Xenith website. It's actually these little air capsules that'll help absorb hit. It says there's 6 of them, so basically there's one here, one here, one here, and they kind of 3 on each side. On the shoulder pads here, you do have the standard style plastic cup, and then with another smaller pad underneath it. And there is no the tag shoulder pads, like a little armhole that you put it through. Basically just sits on top there. Another good thing about these pads, a lot of these extra pads like these jam pads here are removable, which is a really good feature. I like that because personally I don't like using the jam pads in there, so I would definitely take those out if it were for me. Now, another thing which they've added as far as the materials and stuff is they've said that the material used on the inside of the pads is an antimicrobial fabric. That basically means they don't get as stinky as quick. And right now I am a little bit stuffed up, but when I brought them back and I wasn't sick, there was almost no smell to these after using them for a full season. So that is a very, very good sign for you, for your locker, for your parents' car, however they're getting transported. And yeah, that's basically all the little features and that kind of stuff for the outside of them. Okay, so now let's get into the pros of the pads first and a couple of the things I like. So first off, a big deal with these pads, especially being a center that I was, is the flexibility in these pads. So because both of these pieces are completely separate, this chest pad floats. There's no actual attachment to your arms to the shoulder pads with any arm straps or anything like that. It's super flexible, so it's really good for long snappers and centers, especially that you can get rid of these jam pads to make long snapping easier as well. Again, another thing I really like is the antimicrobial part of it, so that makes it, they stink less, it lasts a little bit longer that way. One good thing, especially here with these belts, is the belts are super durable. They're not going to break down on you. Also, as far as with the elastics go, these last a little longer and they really hold on to you because, with the belt, there's no give or giving them at all. So they do really hold it nicely to you. Another thing I actually did like about these lineman pads is the profile on them. You find with a lot of bigger lineman pads, they're super high in the air. These aren't very high in the air at all, which I do like. But now let's actually talk about a couple of things that I didn't like about the pads. So first off here, still one of the things I'm still thinking about is the profile of the pads. So although I said this is the best as far as profile goes for lineman pads, I still think it could be lower because I don't think having this big of shoulder pads is still necessary for a lineman. Offensive lineman, let's qualify that. Defensive lineman, you definitely want the bigger shoulder pads and stuff for hitting. Now because they're not specialized, I get it. It makes sense why they're going with this kind of middle ground. For offensive linemen, I wore receiver pads because I did not need the big shoulder protection playing on the line. I like the protection on my chest up here, but I didn't need as much on my shoulders because I'm not using my shoulders really for anything. So that wasn't as big of a deal to me. So for, center, offensive lineman, I would like a little bit lower profile because these are classified as, anything inside the box, linebackers, defensive line, all that kind of thing. It does make sense with the profile they went with. Now, I did praise these straps because there's no give in them. However, the one thing I don't like about using straps like this is I found a lot of times I would almost hit between two holes here. And so sometimes I didn't like it when it was a little too tight. So I kind of felt in that in-between ground. The one good thing about the elastic style straps is there is a little more movement given them, but this gives you a lot more secure connection. So as far as safety goes, this is definitely the better option between the two. Now, this isn't really much of a concern on my part. One good thing, especially when you're using your belt straps here, you are supposed to put them through these little loops here. That way it protects the belt against, the side of your chest. You are supposed to, again, loop it through the strap here. Now what you'll see some people do is to leave it at this point. It makes it really easy to pop off when you leave it like this. There are these little buckles here, so I highly suggest when you do strap it up, put it through the buckles here and pull it tight. That way, while you're blocking or anything, these aren't gonna pop off super easy like that and then come off. So I definitely recommend that. Very small thing, but it really helps out a lot. Okay, and the last thing again I want to talk about is the positions for the pad. So for me personally, these would be my favorite pads to use as a center, just because they have the flexibility in them, especially for normal snapping, long snapping if you are the long snapper as well. Having said that, with the profile, I might look for something a little smaller. You kind of have to weigh those pros and cons. They do still look really good in shoulder pads. Definitely recommend it for anything on the defensive side of the ball in the box. So any type of defensive end, defensive line, whatever position, linebackers, that kind of deal. On the offense, I would still recommend it for O-line. Again, personally, I do like a little lower profile, but by getting the flexibility in these pads, I would definitely take these over a lower profile pad that had no flexibility in the chest. So you kind of have to weigh out those two options. Honestly, I think these are an unreal pad, and one of the biggest things, which is a super small thing, but boy, it makes a big difference, is the antimicrobial material and how well it deals with the sweat smells. I would still recommend using some kind of deodorizer. So there you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Again, as always, if you did like the video, you like what I'm putting out here, don't forget to like it so you know it's worth my time. Again, if you guys have any questions, leave them down below. 2 videos a week, so don't forget to subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks.